So, this was the Thanksgiving edition of AEW Dynamite, and it kicked off with CM Punk facing off against QT Marshall, but before that, MJF came out and interrupted CM Punk's entrance, and I said in my last Dynamite review that I was so excited for this rivalry because of the promo wars these two are going to have, and I was right, because this was just one of the best promo segments I've seen in a long time. Like, it was so much fun. It could have gone the rest of the night, honestly. MJF brought up Punk quitting WWE, his infamous pipe bomb, and his failed UFC career. And Punk gave this great line where he called MJF a less famous Miz. MJF called Punk PG Punk, and he took a jab at John Cena by saying that Punk might as well come out preaching about hustle, loyalty, and respect. And MJF also said that in the time that Punk was gone, he was writing comic books that no one was reading and making movies that no one was seeing. But I mean, I saw his movie, and Punk said that while MJF was marking out for Rosie O'Donnell, he was selling out Madison Square Garden. And Punk said that the only way MJF could be number one in AEW is if Tony had a daughter and he married her. And finally, MJF backed out of the ring and left. And then we had our match with CM Punk and QT Marshall. But holy crap, what a promo. I mean, that was just so good. I mean, from all the jabs at Triple H and John Cena and The Miz to stuff that both men were probably ashamed about, like MJF's going on Rosie O'Donnell and Punk's failed UFC career. That was just so much fun, honestly. It was just so fun to see how far these guys would go next. It was like a game of one-upsmanship, and I loved it. But Punk and Marshall squared off, and the match ended when Punk hit an elbow drop from the top rope and then hit the GTS and pinned him for the win. And then Tony Schiavone was backstage with Christian Cage and Jurassic Express, and Christian Cage basically hyped up Jurassic Express as being the number one ranked tag team in AEW, and he said that he was going to make sure that they win the AEW World Tag Team Championships. And then the Gun Club faced off against Bear Country, and the match ended when Austin Gunn got involved and grabbed Bronson's leg, and Colton capitalized with the Colt 45 DDT to pin him for the win. And then Sting and Darby Allin came out and took out Austin. And then Bobby Fish was backstage with Adam Cole, and the Best Friends interrupted them, and Cole said he would make the Best Friends pay. And then Team Taz was backstage and again asked Dante Martin if he wanted to join Team Taz or not. And while Leo Rush said that Dante wasn't going to be a part of their team, Dante instead surprisingly signed the contract and joined Team Taz, which kind of surprised me just because I felt like Leo Rush was the first guy that actually saw something in Dante, so I felt like Dante was going to ride with him. So this was definitely an interesting development, and we'll see where this goes from here. And then we had a TBS Women's Championship Tournament quarterfinal match between Jamie Hayter and Thunder Rosa. And in the end, Britt and Rebel tried to interfere on Jamie's behalf, but when Rebel distracted the referee, Britt tried to hit a thrust kick on Thunder Rosa, but Thunder Rosa got out of the way and Britt hit Jamie instead, and Thunder Rosa capitalized by rolling her up and pinned her to advance in the tournament. So this was definitely interesting seeing the cracks form in Britt Baker's team, and I'm wondering if Jamie Hayter is going to turn on them eventually and go on a solo run, kind of like how Brian Cage did with Team Taz. And then Alex Marvez was backstage with Chris Jericho, and 2.0 and Daniel Garcia interrupted their interview, which led to Jericho threatening them. So I imagine Eddie Kingston and Jericho will team up at some point down the line since they both got interrupted by 2.0 and Daniel Garcia. And then we had a Friendsgiving event hosted by Britt Baker and Tony Schiavone. And if I'm being honest, I half expected Adam Cole to just come out and lay out Tony Schiavone for once again getting too close to his girlfriend, but it didn't happen. And really, this was just for Tony Schiavone to tell Britt that Tony Khan said that on Rampage, if Riho beats Britt Baker, then Riho will get a future shot at the AEW Women's World title. And then we had Bryan Danielson facing off against Colt Cabana in Danielson's quest to continue to pick off the Dark Order one by one until he got to the AEW World Champion Hangman Adam Page. And Bryan Danielson finished the match like he always does by taking his opponent's arms and stomping their head, and then he applied the label lock and Colt Cabana tapped out. And then after the match, it turned out that Colt Cabana lost a tooth and Danielson picked it up and bragged about it. And I forgot to mention this during the last Dynamite, but I have to bring up how good Danielson is at getting the crowd reaction that he wants. Like, he plays the part of a babyface and a heel so well. I feel like he's one of the few people who can actually get the crowd to genuinely love him or hate him and get them to do it exactly when he wants them to. Like, everybody knew how much he was loved in WWE, and I'll never forget 5 years after he was so beloved, he ended up getting so hated by so many people, myself included, when he was feuding with Kofi Kingston for the WWE title. Like, it was insane how the roles almost flipped. He's one of the few people that actually got under my skin, and for that, he's definitely earned a lot of my respect, and I really commend him for being such a good heel and babyface. And seriously, like 1 week after he tried to get a heel turn going, he actually completed it, which is insane to think about. Like, the crowd was actually booing him. And this is the same crowd that Danielson debuted in front of less than 3 months ago. And they went from loving him to hating him. And that's insane because they needed a guy to be a heel to Adam Page's babyface. And the fact that Danielson actually managed to make himself a heel in what seemed to be record time from when he started to try to do a heel turn, I think that just speaks to how good of an all-around wrestler he is. But he basically continued his gimmick from WWE when he called the fans fickle, but Hangman Adam Page interrupted him and tried to challenge him to an AEW world title match, but Danielson called him out on being a coward because he just wrestled a match, and Adam Page tried to give Danielson the first shot, which offended him, and Danielson did hit Page, but Page tried to go for a buckshot lariat, but Danielson got out of the ring and avoided it, so I'm excited to see when these two finally face off. And then we had our main event, which was the AEW World Tag Team Champions, the Lucha Brothers, Cody Rhodes and PAC, facing off against FTR, Malakai Black, and Andrade El Idolo. And in the end, Cody accidentally hit a thrust kick to his partner PAC, and Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson even got into the ring to tease their possible eventual match with each other. And Malakai Black ended up spraying his mist into PAC's face, and Andrade El Idolo finished PAC off with the hammerlock DDT for the win. So overall, a good Dynamite, and we'll see what happens on Rampage, which is going to be the special Black Friday edition.